Bloodborne are a more powerful variant of the skeleton class of enemy. Trading in their critical strike for a paralyze attack, the sword-wielding troops are well-rounded and resilient, and have a habit of appearing without warning. Wyverns are deadly flying creatures with a large movement range and plenty of hit points. They're able to strike with flame tail and fire breath attacks, both of which deal extreme damage. The baby dragon is the first dragon we encounter in Shining Force 3, and while the weakest, still possesses a huge pool of hit points and a dangerous breath attack. As a high-level creature, he is resistant to sleep and other impairing effects. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Play Shining Force 3. This is Battle 18, we're inside the evil volcano tunnel thing. Doesn't really have a name, it's just kind of a tunnel through volcanoes. You don't get a specific name for this area. And there's a little bit of dialogue before we kick this off, and this particular level is reasonably enjoyable, but you are attacked the entire way through, which is unusual. So usually you do get a little bit of respite, there's a lot of, say, maneuvering. That doesn't happen in this level, it's pretty much balls-to-the-wall action the entire way, so there isn't a lot cut out of this particular video. The battle goes on maybe about 35 minutes, and this video clocks in close to 30. Now, this battle in particular is quite different to the ones that we've seen before because it does not involve killing a boss character in order to beat the level. We're going to have a little bit of a look around, and what you will see here is a fairly linear path over to the other side. This cave exit here is where we have to get Kite. That will end the level if we move Kite there. We also have a secret chest that is hidden over there on a rocky outcrop that can only be accessed by Eldar. And you notice there are a little bit of clipping issues with this level, but nothing that you should really be bothered too much about, since you shouldn't really be panning all the way over there. Right, let's get a move on here. Put Pen up the front, just because we know Pen is tough as nails and ain't taking no crap from nobody. Got a couple of hellhounds there, and you see mostly hydras. It's the usual Shining Force fare, guys. You can expect hidden monsters and traps all over the place. And there will be some new stuff that we get to see in this particular level. The hellhounds right now are not particularly threatening, but the paralyzed attack is still annoying, unfortunately, and that's really not going to help matters in the slightest. Khan is at the moment a wrecking machine, but he's not much of a wrecking machine if he's stuck and can't move. Dante's there, showing that his defense is actually particularly low. Dante's has developed something of a glass cannon this time around, whereas in some of my previous playthroughs he has been tough as nails, and there's a quick find there for Eldar. Just a random find. There's an even more random find of another piece of material later on in this level that I will show you. After failing to find it 2 or 3 times, I now actually know where it is after having a look around for about 20 minutes. We'll get everyone up front there and just deal with these hellhounds. They're not much of a threat. I'm more concerned about the hydras and the spawns that we're going to be getting a little bit later on. So we'll clear these out in short order. Really not quite as short as I would like, but not a bad hit there, 22 damage. We'll skip forward just a little bit. Destroyer of Worlds, that he is. And unfortunately taking curse damage there. This is one of the interesting things about curse that I failed to mention earlier. If you kill something while you have curse on it, you take a bit of feedback damage, which is not particularly pleasant. What we will do is attempt to clear this hellhound out with magic. That shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Now bear my Arctic blast.
Not a bad hit there at all. Noon's definitely becoming an extremely heavy hitter in comparison to Masculine at the moment. Masculine lagging behind a little bit. That is something that will, I think, be remedied next battle, because I'm going to get it promoted. I'm going to get a couple of the characters promoted up, actually. Do a little bit of power leveling. Get everyone back on an even keel. Now, sadly, we don't have any kind of antidote of any sort, so we can't use that. But Khan could certainly act as a bit of a damage sponge for the time being, while we maneuver the rest of our characters in to engage the hellhounds and the hydras. Mascarin is made of paper at the moment. 20 HP is incredibly low. Hydra, for instance, could kill her instantly, as could some of the tougher monsters on this particular map. Not what I call worrying by any stretch. I'm surprised not to see a counter-attack. I'm not entirely sure whether or not being paralyzed affects your ability to do counter-attacks. I haven't seen any evidence to prove one way or the other, but it would make sense. Now, Kite could be a much heavier hitter than this. He's actually developed into a particularly all-round character, which is not a bad thing by any stretch. The worst thing that happens is when you end up getting an incredibly tough main character, but you can't deal any damage. At the moment, he seems to be pretty solid in both areas, in attack and defense, and has a reasonable amount of hit points. He'll get a heck of a lot more once he gets promoted. I don't believe we're in range, are we? Oh, yes, we are. It's a little tricky, actually, getting used to the range of this particular weapon. But it's not tricky getting used to the awesomeness of Hayward. Level 15, and not exactly the best stat up in the world, but let's face it, attack is all we care about when it comes to him. Ratchet clunking along there. With his movement speed of 5, he is really not particularly useful in this level, which is a sad state of affairs. He can become a bit more helpful once you get a longer range bow for him. He can use both the anchor and a longbow, which he actually converts into some kind of cannon. Now, that doesn't seem to make an awful lot of sense until you realize that in the Japanese version, the longbow was actually called a shell. And indeed, it does fire explosive shells, so it's not as nonsensical as you might think. And it's interesting to see that Ratchet can use those two different types of weapons. He's one of the few characters that can. The longbow and the anchor are two different types, whereas, say, Dantes can use lance-type weapons. Yeah? He can use 3 different kinds of weapons, but they all count as lances in the damage system. The anchor and the longbow, they're not the same thing. That gives quite a bit of versatility, but unfortunately, it's not all that useful. There are better characters that will find in Scenario 2 and 3 particularly that can use a massive different selection of weapons, and can literally train up weapons and swap between them to do extra damage to almost every type of enemy in the game. Now, I'm going to move out of the way here because I know for a fact that something nasty is going to pop up. There we go. Bloodborne spawn behind you. This is one of the new enemies. It's a tougher version of a skeleton. Should not be taken lightly. However, they are relatively vulnerable to the use of frost magic, as you can see. Not as vulnerable as the Hellhounds or the Wyverns and the Dragon, but relatively vulnerable nonetheless. The vulnerabilities in this particular game are hidden, and I don't have any specific stats as to what monsters are vulnerable to what. All I know is that it does actually happen, and a quick level up there for Khan. Very nice. And a reasonable stat up. Could have been better. You can get double stat ups in this game once you're promoted, as you've seen before. A nasty hit there by the Bloodborne, currently sitting on half health, but slicing Dantes in half as well. This is why you should not take these lightly. I don't think I can take him out, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I can certainly take him out with another character before Masquerade gets in danger. And it would be good to get a few hits in on these new enemies, which of course will yield bonus experience. Not particularly vulnerable to fire, as you can tell. Bloodborne moving there to engage Noon. Now, Noon does have a lot of HP. And he ain't taking any crap either. Smacking it on the head with a wand for 9 HP damage. Now, this is a dangerous situation for Dantes to be in. I really don't want him to be killed by one of the Hydras. So I'm going to attempt to move him into a position where that's not going to happen. Hopefully take this Hydra down. Ooh, it's not to be, unfortunately. But he's recovered 2 HP, so I'm confident that he'll be able to survive now. As Oldar flaps around the side to perform her only role in this particular battle, I'm going to move in between the Bloodborne and the Hydra. The reason being, of course, I would quite like the Hydra to eat Kite as opposed to eat Masquerade, which it could. It might happen. As the game seems to go along, the AI gets a little bit more unpredictable, or smarter, whichever you prefer to call it. Level 15 there for Kite, and a nice hit point upcrease. Upcrease? Not even a word. We'll use it anyway. New phrase coined today, it's upcrease. Not to be confused with downcrease. Now, we got a new weapon for Horst, and it is lethal. Absolutely fantastic hit. 34 damage. That's the Revenge Mace. He has an attack of 61 at the moment, which makes him the strongest in the entire force. My heal rank 2 is hardly necessary here, but really don't want to take any chances. Partnership there, and level 17. There we go. Fantastic. Level 3 heal, spell learned, and that is as far as you can go before you promote. If you go any higher, you will not gain any stats at all. So, we'll be promoting Grace after this battle, which will be great, because she'll get access to a new set of spells. Now, heal rank 3 is generally massive overkill at this stage in the game, so we're not going to be using it. Now, if you can even work out what that terrible voice acting is actually saying, it's saying return. He fires his hand out, a massive great armored gauntlet, I assume with steam or whatever, and it suddenly comes back to his hand. Not entirely sure how, but, well, I'm not going to argue. As you can see, definitely trying to continue to build the friendship here between Pen and Noon. And we didn't actually gain any damage there from that particular kill, which is always nice. And there it is. That's what I was looking for. Took a bloody long time to find it, but there it is. Right, now we're in a situation here where we're quite close to... Oh, wait. There it is. Not quite as far away as I thought. Doesn't look all that intimidating, does it? But it is. No question about that. And this is the synchronicity point of this particular level. Let's have a look at it. The choice of whether or not to kill the baby dragon in this scenario directly affects the party in Scenario 2. Killing the dragon will result in easier passage through this area in Scenario 1, but will cause Scenario 2's party to fight the more powerful Arc Dragon instead. Not only that, but a rockfall will block off a hidden area containing several powerful items. Leaving the baby dragon alive will mean that Scenario 2's party must fight it, while our current party must simply endure its attacks while passing through the volcano. Yes, well, the choice is obvious. We'll, of course, be leaving the baby dragon alive so that we can gain access to that special room in Scenario 2. Although it does make our job this time around a little bit harder because we'll be constantly harassed by the dragon as we move through this level. Now, while the dragon can't do a massive amount of damage with the claw attack, which is its standard attack, the flame breath is dangerous. And the baby dragon's moving there, going after Horse, then hopefully it won't get flame grilled. No, just the claw attack, not too worried about that at all. Now, I've got to watch out here because the Wyvern particularly will go after healers if it gets the opportunity. Has a large movement range and it flies. It will not be stopped by anything. So I want to try and take it down as soon as humanly possible. Now, of course, it is a little bit risky putting Hayward over there, but I have a plan. Do not fear. Now, we're going to switch over to the more powerful longbow. Gives a little bit extra attack, and we're going to go after the Bloodborne with it. After deciding whether or not... Yes, unfortunately, the heavy longbow is not as good as the fairy bow. So it doesn't have that 3-square range. Very nice attack there. That's actually the Dazzle Shot, which has an illusion effect. Which, of course, means the Bloodborne won't be able to hit anything. At least not for a while. Now, here's my plan. Move Obright with his defense aura behind Hayward so that he gets that extra armor. In the meantime, Pen is going to move up there, and he's going to be our rear guard today. He's going to engage that Bloodborne. And also like to keep out of the way. Now, Noom particularly we have to keep safe so that we can try and put the dragon to sleep. Well, let's face it, he wasn't really going to survive that in any form. Very nice attack there. The amount of damage Khan could put out at the moment is great. He can become a serious wrecking machine. Indeed, he already is. He does have potential for growth as well, particularly if you get him some really good accessories. And in goes the Bloodborne. Well, the paralyzed attack on Pen, not very pleasant. Not a massive amount of damage, but the paralysis plus the curse is going to make it very difficult for Pen to fight. It's a risky situation for Dantes. Don't want to be too close to that Hydra. In the meantime, we're going to get Eldar out there to grab what's in that chest quickly. Thankfully, the Wyvern decided to be a little bit predictable this time. Still a reasonable amount of damage, though. The attack rating of the Wyvern is quite high in comparison to our heroes at the moment. Solid counter-attack, but nothing particularly special. Was hoping for the crit bonus from Hayward to come into play there. Sadly, it didn't happen. I'm going to move Horst over here. Go after the Hydra. Horst, the little ball of fury. Unfortunately, that was a bad idea. The Bloodborne particularly can do an awful lot of damage to Horst and Oberite. And a nasty slash there with the claw, kite down to 13 hit points. Nothing we can't fix right up, though. Now, I must say I'm somewhat concerned for Horst's safety here. There's a very real possibility that the Hydra will turn around and smack him one, particularly if an acid breath goes off, and then the Bloodborne can come and finish him. Perhaps overreaching there. Bit of an error on my part. Overreaching is probably one of the worst things you can do in this game. Allowing one of your characters to be simply isolated from the rest. Particularly with Shining Force's tendency to drop random spawns on you. They're not so much random, but you always forget where the trigger points are. They're not particularly obvious. Oh. I could attempt to do a dazzle on the baby dragon. Unfortunately, wasn't going to happen. Oh, we will, of course, be doing damage to the baby dragon to earn a bit of extra experience, because you do get quite a bit. But we're not going to kill it. Unfortunately, I forgot that Horst does not gain a bonus from Oberite because they are not yet friends. Try and take out the Hydra quickly. Oh, failure again by Oberite. I'm sorry, I just have no time for this character. And here comes the nightmare scenario. Acid breath attack on Horst, reducing armor and taking him down to 12 hit points. Oh look, there also happens to be a Bloodborne over there who just happens to have a extra strength against axe and mace wielding characters. Now can Pen break out? Oh yes, bypassing both curse and paralysis to deal a hefty blow to the Bloodborne there. He's having a little bit more look at the back. Whether that'll happen again, though, remains to be seen. The chances of that actually happening, getting past both the curse and the paralysis, are very low. Trying to buff up some defense, because quite frankly, there's a lot of damage being thrown around. We're not in range yet
Give me your power.
to put that particular dragon to sleep. I must say I do quite like the voice acting on Khan, more so than most. It's the only one that seems to fit the character. You can see, keeping Masculine well out of the way, she's not particularly useful this fight. I think power leveling will have to happen after this to get her back on track. A blow there to Pen, only 4 damage, but that can add up. And there it is. There's the mistake of overreaching. A paralyzed attack as well, that is absolutely wiped out Horst there. A lesson to all, do not overreach. Doesn't matter how much of a wrecking machine your character is, you can be easily picked off in the wrong situation. Alright, we're almost over there to grab what is in that tasty chest. Let's skip forward just a little bit and move our way past this dragon. Now I'm going to do something which I don't usually do, as you can see, which is attack with grace. Now, the skeletons, along with certain other monsters, are classed as evil creatures, which actually have a vulnerability to Ankh weapons. In the case of that particular evil creature, the evil creature is wielding a sword, therefore has a double vulnerability, vulnerable to lancers and vulnerable to Ankhs. So I put it to sleep, unfortunately not. We're looking for a Mesmer arrow there, which would have put the baby dragon to sleep, but it wasn't happening, regardless of the extra crit that you do get due to the dragon's vulnerability to arrows. Now, I don't think we're going to have too much of a problem eliminating one of these. Ratchet isn't that hopeless. Now, Obright's on pretty low health, but we shouldn't have to worry about that. There's nothing around. The opportunity to get him a little bit of extra experience. That's 24, that's almost a quarter of a level. And Obright is certainly behind in that regard. Now, let's see if we can put that dragon to sleep and then move past. Wouldn't want it deciding to breathe fire on somebody, is it?
Spirits, help me.
Do we get it? Yes, we do. And the dragon is asleep. Unfortunately, being a boss level character, it won't stay that way. Now, can we eliminate the Bloodborne? No, we can't. That's a curse and frozen up. Bypass the paralysis, but not the curse. Now be the time to sneak Masquerade past and move forward. Now, Bloodborne should spawn beside. There we go. Not too worried. I think Dantes can handle it, especially since we are in range of some backup. Not going to make the same mistake I did with Horst. Another 4 hit points there, taken off of Penn down to 14, and this could get a little bit dicey if Penn's not able to convert it. And he's not going to be able to run away either. Penn's movement speed is 5, so is the Bloodborne. So it's really fight or nothing. And the Mithril Dirk there, it's a Class A dagger that will, of course, be given to Kite after this particular battle is over. And, oh dear, surprises, surprises, Wyvern spawning right behind Eldar. A pretty nasty hit there from that Wyvern as well. What we can do is move in Obright behind him to hopefully increase his defense. And this is gonna hurt. Eldar criminally underleveled and not particularly great on the defense. And the baby dragon has woken up after just a single turn. It's not going to help matters whatsoever. We'll try for another Mesmer arrow, see if that helps. Oh, it's a crit. And it's the wrong crit. Ice arrow won't help in this situation at all. Now, we could go for a dazzle. See perhaps if we can maybe make it get lost in illusion, but I don't think that's going to happen. What I want, actually, is to block it in. I don't mind Ratchet getting hit, I just don't want Masquerade getting hit. I'll do a little bit of damage, but the primary reason for Obright being here, of course, is to give the defensive aura to Dantes. Let's go for another sleep. See if maybe we can keep it locked down. I certainly hope so, because Masquerade is within range.
Spirits, help me.
It would be just my luck. Unfortunately, no, didn't happen. Boss characters with a nasty resistance to that. What I can do, however, is block off Masquerade so that the dragon can't get her. Let's give it another shot. No, unfortunately not, but the paralysis and the curse in effect there. Maneuvering here could be tricky, but I can certainly get Dantes back up to full health. Just want to make sure that I keep Grace the heck away from everything else. Certainly tougher than Masquerade, but not by much. And here comes another hit. Hopefully not a paralyzed attack for extra damage. No, just a normal. But that's down to 10 hit points. Couple more hits and Penn's going down. Not a good situation. Even with the defense over there, still taking 6 damage from the Bloodborne. It's a big hitter. Now, unfortunately, I can't really put Kite in any position that would be helpful in any respect. Although I could, of course, throw a dagger. Which turns out is absolutely ineffectual. The defense rating of the Bloodborne obviously higher than the attack rating of Kite with that knife. Now, what I will do is move around so that I can utilize the attack bonus and hopefully kill this off. And there it goes. Stellar hit there, and the Bloodborne down on the ground. 28 experience. Not too bad at all. Now we're in a situation where the Wyvern's probably going after Obright. Eldar really needs to run as fast as humanly possible. Unfortunately, Eldar moves at a speed of 6, the Wyvern at a speed of 7. Can, of course, use a healing drop here, but that is the only healing item that Eldar happens to possess at the moment. If the Wyvern decides to give chase, then we could be in a real pickle. The Wyvern there moving in to engage Obright. Not too worried about that. Though the Flame Tail, that's going to be a lot of damage. Take it down to 6 HP. Thankfully, there's no possibility of Obright dying from the Wyvern. And the Wyvern giving chase there to Eldar as well. It's going to be another big hit. And a fire breath there, even more unpleasant. Doing even more damage. Toasty down to 10 HP. Eldar will die next turn if hit. So we're going to have to make a move. And just to make matters worse, Baby Dragon coming in behind to go after the healer. And it's a fire breath. Hopefully the magic resistance will pay off. Only just. Definitely need to get the Baby Dragon back to sleep very quickly. It's all up to you now, Hayward. Can you pull through? And yes, he can. What a guy. Mesmer Arrow, and right back to sleep the Baby Dragon goes, and shouldn't be any more of a threat this particular fight. Now, Pen, unfortunately, under a lot of threat. 10 HP, and fails for the third time. Paralysis this time as opposed to Curse. Now, we're about 2 turns away from ending this battle, but we're now stuck in a situation where we can't get past the Baby Dragon. So we've been split in 2. The best option here, get Kite moving as fast as humanly possible to the end of the level. The last thing we want to do is have to go after the dragon again if it decides to wake up. Now, I'm hoping here that this will be far enough away. We've got nothing we can use to heal, so Eldar's dead next turn, unless the Wyvern decides it wants something else. And Pen is going to die in 2 turns as well at this rate. Time to hoof it, I feel. Let's get Kite up there. I think we can make it most of the way up to the hill and then move out the turn after that. Yes, indeed. That's as close as I can get. Now, I could heal Grace here, but Grace is not in any immediate danger, so I'm going to use heal instead to get Obright back up to full health and just hope that the Wyvern doesn't decide to take a fancy to Grace instead. Obright back up to full HP. Should be able to take yet more hits. Seems to be all he's good at these days. And the Wyvern decided to take a different path entirely. Smelt fresher prey in the form of Kite. To be honest, it's probably for the best. Now, can he finish it? This is his last opportunity. And yes, he can. But also taking curse damage. Oh, no! Stop that. Stop that. Entirely inappropriate. Now, interestingly enough, dying from curse damage, as I like to call it, Harry Carey, does not affect your friendship in any way. Now, I did not know this, and apparently neither did anybody else, because I couldn't find any information in the guide, so there's a brand new mechanic discovery for you there. The friendship ratings, and I did check after this battle, they're identical. So losing Pen, while slightly embarrassing, was also kind of awesome. And down he goes. It's time to get the hell out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Shining Force 3, Battle 18 in the volcano. I will see you next time. Enjoy.